You enjoy Coyote stories because they're very funny. There's a lot of laugh in it, but it also teaches tin. Like I'm sure some of you may have heard Coyote has tried to do knee surgery. Why? Because I think I told you the story of Teecnospos, a young lady that turns into a bear. And Coyote tried to make friends with that beautiful young Navajo lady. Coyote wanted this beautiful young Navajo woman to be his girlfriend. But the young lady was smart. She said no. And then Coyote asked, "What do I need to do to win your love for me?" Of course, she then recited certain things like, you got to do this, you got to do this, and if you can do all these things, then I might want to marry you. So one of the things she said was, I won't marry anybody unless that person have killed a big brown bad giant. Ye tsala paha. Ye sinigi eshin that day sato panses can't le. Ike Shichihana ahaki. No, she can't. So she told Coyote, if you kill this big, bad, brown giant that goes around killing people, if you can kill that, I might consider your request to marry you. So Coyote said, okay, give me a little time. So he took off. He wonders how he's going to do this. He finally ran into this big, bad, brown giant. Of course, brown giant doesn't care for Coyote. He doesn't want him, doesn't care for him. But big brown bad giant goes for people because they're a lot more juicy and sweeter than the Coyote. So Coyote comes around to the giant, and the big brown giant asks Coyote, what makes you run so fast? I like to run like you because I like to catch deer, elk. They're real fast runners, but I can't catch them. So how can I run fast like you? Coyote said, aha, I can show you to be the fastest runner on earth. If you want to learn. Big brown giant said, yeah, I want to learn, tell me. He said, okay, build a sweat lodge. Heat up some rocks. I'm going to go out and look for some reed that I usually use to make you run faster. So while the big brown giant was busy getting the stones and the fire going for the sweat lodge, Coyote took off, and he saw a old bone of an elk. It looked like a thigh bone. So he picked it up, brushed it off, put it under his coat, ran back to the sweat lodge. And then the big giant says, okay, I got the stone all hot, ready to go. So they both went into the sweat lodge, pulled the curtain down so it's real dark inside that sweat lodge. So Coyote said, I have a real sharp rock knife. Tsepesh. He said, you know how I can run faster than anybody? I have to cut my leg off at the knees. And then I put medicine on it, and I can put it back together. Then I can really run fast. Nobody can catch me. You want that? The big brown giant, who's kind of not all there. Toda, you see, Teecnospos is kind of dumb. Anyway, the big brown giant said, yeah, I want to do that. So show me. So Coyote took the sharp knife and pretend like he's cutting his own knee. He's really yelling and screaming. And then finally he said, oh, I cut it off now. Now then he said, see, feel it. He took that elk bone and gave it to him, and he could feel it. Oh, yeah, he said. Looks like you cut your leg off at the knee. He said, yes. He said, now, I'll show you how to put it back together. It's all dark in there in the sweat lodge. So he got that bone back in his coat, and then he starts rubbing it, saying a few words, and then he said, now feel it. So the giant went over there, felt it. Coyote's knees, it's all back together. He said, you see, so easy. I cut it off, then I put it back together. Now I can be faster than anybody. So you want it? The big brown giant said, yes. So, okay, come over here. So he gave him that sharp knife. He said, now, cut your knee off. So the giant really screaming and yelling, really literally cut his knees off at that joint. And the giant said, I did it, see, feel it. So Coyote went over there, and sure enough, he cut his leg off. So the big brown giant says, now put it back together. So the big brown giant started saying the same thing that Coyote was saying, get back together, my knees, get back together. And Coyote at this point threw out the cover on the doorway and said to the giant, I'm sorry, you just cut your leg off and you're not going to run anymore. So he took the leg that he from the knee down, took that with him over to that young lady and said, here it is. He also cut some of his hair, part of his face, showed to the young lady that changes into a bear and said, here, that big brown giant is gone. I kill him. Here's his leg, here's his part of his body. So she believed him and said, okay, but that's not enough. You need to die at least 4 times. If you can survive the 4th death, then you could be my husband. Well, you know the rest of the story because I told you what happened. And eventually her brothers came back from hunting, and the story goes on. And that's also another ceremonial story. Hatalja, but they just tell the certain interesting part of it. Some are humorous, some are just something you learn from. What nakahanne the nekeche holnoro namadon jen nalan she bahanda shinda holla. Tell him, tell me a story that you can keep in your head and remember. Thank you for listening, and again, have a good 4th of July and celebrate safely.